Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Locked On Seminoles. I'm your host, Max, and right here in the Zoom room, I've got Andres Silva. We are filming our second episode of the night, but the first one you're listening to today. We first of all want to thank everyone who came out to the live show Monday night. Maybe you caught it on Tuesday. However you saw it, thanks for being there. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like the video, leave some comments, questions, all of that. But we've got a great show for you today. We are going to talk about the answer to Florida State's problems and how it's simpler than you may think. They just need to run more plays. Run more plays, you'll win more games. They really just need to figure that part out. We're going to do that while filtered into talking about the spring game quite a bit. We spoke about it yesterday, but there were a lot of things in the notes I didn't hit. For instance, I got to talk about the really abysmal tight end room, which I'm sure I'll mention today. But Drake, I didn't really get to talk about the positive things I saw at receiver or what I liked about this running back room and how we have a lot more depth there. So there's a lot to cover, man. Let's play the video and let's dive right in.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, folks, we are back. I'm your host, Max, at MaxMoody17 on Twitter. That is my co-host, Tally__ Drake. Buddy, it's good to see you. It's good to have you here. And more importantly, it's good to be here. It's a really special week to me. Not really. I don't know why I said that. It's not really a special week, but hey, spring's over. So every week is a week closer to the season starting. Our baseball team has decided to completely give up on the season, which is disappointing. Our soccer coach left in the dead of night and basically sent out an email we've now seen that said he doesn't trust or respect the athletic director. Point is, we don't have a ton to look forward to, so we get to do math. And we were talking about Jordan Travis's stats. And yesterday on the live show, y'all had asked, hey, is it too crazy to ask for like 2,500 yards from him? And we thought, hey, let's do some math on it. And while I was doing that, I won't even bother showing y'all exactly what I did because it's not complicated, but it was more than I needed to do. The point is, I realized that Florida State last year ran 68.4 plays per game from the line of scrimmage.
69 if you want to have more fun with numbers at home.
Actually, it's 0.4. You can't round it up, but if you really wanted to, yes, close to 69 plays, nice, per game. Dude, that was 82nd in the country. Jordan Travis last year had a 62.9% completion rating. It was close enough. Nice. And we only threw the ball 43.3% of the time. If we kept all things consistent, right? What do they call that? What's the Latin term for that? Not posse comitatus. That's the act about the military intervening on U.S. soil. But the one, what's the term for all things held equal? It's an economics and a math term. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. All things being equal. Jordan Travis's yards per completion staying the same at 7.9. Completion percentage staying the same at 62.9. Us still throwing the ball only 43.3% of the time. If we ran as many plays as Ohio State, who was 50th in the nation, by the way, just top 50, that's all we have to do. We have an extra 310 yards through the air last year. We run as many as the 25th ranked team. I promise I didn't make this up just for funsies, but Miami, number 25 in the nation at plays per game last year at 75.6. If Florida State had ran 75.6 plays per game last year, all other things being held constant, 411 extra yards through the air. Dude, those 411 yards, depending on how they're spread out, how many games could that have won us last year?
Probably 3.
Right?
I think legitimately it's 3. I mean, and obviously, folks, those numbers aren't going to be the same. I mean, Miami's going to definitely take a drop because Rhett Lashley is gone. As you know, he was basically from the same school of thought as a Kendall Browse, where you go as fast as possible, do as many plays as possible, and they still were in 25th. which is a line that I think you said the first team was Wake Forest, and they ran about
Ohio
81
State.
place. First place.
Ranked first. Yes.
Ranked
so
first
Wake Forest was first, right? So if we did that, which I didn't do, if we ran as many plays as Wake Forest, number one in the nation in plays per game, 81.4, that's 560 plays per game, or 560 extra yards on the year. I don't know why I said plays per game. That's kind of wild.
I mean, it is wild. I mean, it's more to the fact that you show that FSU last year had a lot of threes and outs. FSU last year had a lot of third and long distances when it comes to converting, whether it be in their first, series or, down the line, down the field. So to me, we need to see, I guess, more of a constant with the play calling. And this is what me and you discussed like a little more off camera, where now we have Alex Atkins actually in the new OC role, and how Dillingham and Norvell were kind of like a Vulcan mind meld. They were kind of two of the same thing, trying to do the same thing each time. Now with Atkins in there, it can be a little more, hey, Mike, let's do something a little bit different right now. I think this would be a little bit better. Like, are you sure, Alex? I'm positive, Mike. Come on. Let's run the ball a little bit more and stuff. Keep doing that a little bit.
Yeah, having some divergent thinking in your upper echelons is not a bad thing. You're absolutely right about that. And look, it's a complex equation, right? Why didn't we run enough plays? There could be several reasons. One, like you said, too many 3 and outs. Other side of that, we also weren't great at getting the ball back. Our defense really liked to put the bend but don't break thing to the, really, really follow the letter of that. Yeah, right. We also did go pretty slow. I mean, how many times last year were we watching just like, hey, why are we waiting so long to call a run play? Just get the play in there. Let's dial this thing up and let's get rolling. I would be interested to see too, if there's a correlation between average age of the player and number of plays ran. I imagine that it's to a point, right? Because some teams just don't try to run a lot of plays. But you know what I mean? Like the more like Wake Forest, they've all been playing together for 5 years. Of course, you only have to tell them to play and they'll go run it quickly. I don't know. So that was just one thing I wanted to point out, though, is like we can't run the 82nd most plays per game in the country and expect to win a lot of football games. You're actively putting yourself at a disadvantage by doing that, right? You're literally letting the other team have to defend less. You make a team defend 68 plays versus 78, which is Alabama, number 12 in the nation in that. You're making it harder to keep you from scoring. That's 10 more chances you're giving yourself to get in scoring position or to score or to, make a big play or whatever. So this team's got to run more plays. I'm glad I went down that rabbit hole because I haven't heard that talked about at all. And when we start saying, okay, going into next year, what are you looking at? Well, now I know I have a new metric. I'm going to look at how many plays are we running each game. And Drake, I think to your point, I'm going to be tracking why. I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch throughout the season. Like if we only run 61 plays in a game, okay, what caused that variance? Like why did we have a negative variance away from average? If we were able to run 75, how did we get to that positive variance?
And I think, right, as well, you can see I'm looking, if you're on YouTube right now, you see me looking at my side screen over here, and Mike Norvell's from the Gus Malzahn School of basically offensive philosophy. You see last season, UCF actually was 102nd, basically with 66 plays per game. And that's kind of foreboding, but if you do look back to his last year at Memphis, Mike actually was 48th in the country at 72.9, so basically 73 plays per game. So this kind of seems to me that I would like to see if the year before how our plays per game actually ranked, and the year before that to see like if he's somewhat trying to implement his offensive philosophy a little bit more, maybe that could actually help with more plays per game overall.
Anyway, folks, I want to tell you about the friends that bring us this wonderful show that we watch every day, and that's betonline.net. They are not just a way to get your action down. They will help give you information about the plays that are out there and what you should be making. Like I said, there's not a lot going on in the FSU sports world right now. So, I guess we're going to have to turn to other things. You can watch the MLB, you can watch the NHL, the NBA's made to the playoffs. There's all kinds of stuff to get money down on. And if you're interested in doing it, make sure that you do it at betonline.ag or .net, and make sure that no matter what you do, you gamble responsibly. Speaking of behind the eight ball, though, let's move forward and let's talk about the spring game. Drake, I'm going to do the same thing as the live show since I was our lone representative of the spring game. I'll kind of let you drive the conversation more than me just thinking out loud.
So the one thing that I actually did notice that they kind of allowed us to see on the ACC Network broadcast when they weren't interviewing basically everyone and their mother that's either an alumni, a booster, a fan, or wearing an FSU t-shirt.
Anyone that ever possibly could have gone to FSU.
Yeah, pretty much. Even though I will say Jermaine Johnson's fit was fire. The man is definitely getting that lottery money. But to me, I like the way our wide receivers did look. And I want to point out specifically Micah Pittman, who someone that when he first, committed here, I was like, okay, he's going to be good, but I'm going to, hold back a little bit more because I know he was the big fanfare. He was a former top 100 kid. Also, his dad played in the league for a very long time. His brother right now was a wide receiver, star wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. But after seeing kind of like the way he's able to play in the spring game, it's hyperbolic, but I think it's someone that we can use similar. I mean, I think the comments a few weeks ago mentioned, why don't we use more of our weapons like a Deebo Samuel from San Francisco 49ers, which is basically that gadgety wide receiver running back hybrid. And the best place we saw with Pittman after he came back from his injury, I think he had a shoulder contusion, I think during that 2-point conversion goal line drive, whatever the hell that drill was. I mean, he came in just like a pit bull with a ball and just literally just bowling people over. He's a physical back and a physical wide receiver. And that's something that I was very excited to see. And then Johnny Wilson, I mean, he dropped everything that came to him, but he still got open. You just need to learn how to catch the ball.
I think he had like 2 targets and dropped one. I mean, his drop wasn't that bad. Pittman is a very physical guy. Here's the problem. Pittman alone is not really a recipe for success. You need someone to distract from the threat of Pittman to make him effective. No, I'm not saying, right. I'm not saying you're not. You're just saying, using the gadgety players. It's what we saw with Ja'Kai Douglas last year. We kept asking, well, why is Ja'Kai this like home run or nothing guy? Well, because once he gets on the field, since there's no other threat to be a home run, they know that he's going deep. And if Pittman can have a Malik McClain or a Johnny Wilson step up, then yeah, he could be really good this year because I like what he does. He comes downhill with bad intentions. There was a play he caught. I don't know if it was on the broadcast, but from where I was sitting, it was the right side. So he caught probably a 1-yard pass or it was basically a wide receiver screen. Yeah. And it looked like your typical play that we do when that happens, that he's going to get tackled. And he actually ended up making a 5 or 6 yard run out of it, not because he made anyone miss, just because he ran into people and made himself hard to tackle. And we talked about this last year. If you can turn the negatives into neutrals and your neutrals into positives, you will win more football games. We're not asking this team to win a national championship this year. We're just asking them to win a few more football games. They were very close last year to winning 8 or 9 games. They were very close to winning 3.
Yeah.
So this is a wait and see team. I'm not changing my mind on that. But because of the way you look at that they could go, they don't need to substantially improve at anything. They just need to get a little bit better at everything. Again, turn the negatives into neutrals and the neutrals into positives. And I think Pittman is a guy who turns your neutrals into positives just because of the physicality with which he plays.
So that's where I'm going to push back just a little bit on that because I do kind of agree that I actually like that a lot too. Your negatives, neutrals to positives. You should put it on a t-shirt.
I should. I just came up with that.
That would actually was usually I'm the name guy. But that's really good. So for me personally though, I think that we see these weapons with a Micah Pittman, with a Johnny Wilson, who I personally still think is going to be able to somehow find out how to catch the ball. In August,
he'll learn.
He'll learn. Keyshawn Helton as a wide receiver 3 looked very, very, very good. And me and you have both been saying, hey, when he's not the number 1, when you just let him work, kid's solid.
He had 2 really good catches. Yeah. Even the one that got blown dead. Did they show that one from Tate?
They did, which to me, that I don't care what anyone says, like that would have been a touchdown. I think that that was a great stay in the pocket by Tate. I know people were slowing up on it. I don't.
Sacker, no, it was a good catch too. It was a good throw and a good catch, right? So yeah, maybe he does get sacked there, but I'm just yes. So that was part of Keyshawn looking good though. Keyshawn looked pretty solid.
Exactly. But to me, saying basically these pauses that we have with the weapons around, even though our tight end room isn't that great, but you see how Trayshawn Ward looked out of the backfield catching the ball. You'll see Trey Benson also being good with St. Lawrence Toa-Field. He gained 10 pounds or gained 5 pounds, which is something that we've been asking for him to do since he got here. And he looked pretty good. CJ Campbell. So to me, this is where I think these kids can also be all solid pass catchers. So I don't think you need to substantially improve, but I do think the weapons are there for Jordan Travis to actually, if he is able to actually keep his composure, keep calm in the pocket, step up when he needs to, when he can. Because we saw a lot of times yesterday where he had the pocket to where he's able to step up a little bit more. If he's able to do that, I think he can substantially improve, or we'll finally find out if he really can't.
Sure. Look, I'd love everyone to substantially improve. I guess I'm saying it from an optimistic standpoint.
I'm saying that there's definitely we can. I think it's possible to even go halfway to that, which would be great for the team overall.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, man. But again, I think even if you don't improve substantially and you can just get a little bit better in every area, if you just block a little better, catch a little better, throw a little better, run a little better, you could have a much better result than 5 wins. But hey, man, if they want to improve substantially, I'm not going to tell them not to. I mean, I would love for them to.
It sounds like you're capping the ceiling, my guy. I don't know, man.
I'm not capping the ceiling. I'm saying the floor. That's actually, I'm glad you said that. My thesis statement here is the floor is higher than I think people think it is. I think people that think it's 8 wins, like we talked about last week, like they also need to settle down. But I don't think there's anything on this team that right now, or at least that I saw from the spring game or that I've seen from spring practice or that I've heard from talking to people around the program, makes me think, oh man, we're in trouble here. The tight end room, I think, is probably the worst unit on this team by far. But to your point, we got guys that can catch it from the backfield. We got guys that can catch it as a receiver. And we got random gadgety dudes like Ja'Kai Douglas out there that can catch it from various places all over the field. So we can make up for that deficit. It's not going to be the end of the world. It is going to keep us from being an ACC championship caliber team, but that's not even the goal of this year. The goal of this year is let's win 7 or 8 games and show that we're trending in the right direction. And then we'll worry about becoming an ACC championship team down the road. But I think we need to take a little break, hear from our sponsors, and we will be right back with some power rankings that have been updated now that the spring has concluded. All right, man. So power rankings, we did a few of these. And again, power rankings are dynamic. I should start writing mine down because frankly, I make them and then I don't know, ahead of the season this early, I didn't feel like I needed to write them down, but now I kind of wish I had. So I think we should either do running back or receiver or defensive back. Which one do you want to do?
Let's do running back. I think you're a little more familiar with that room than on defensive backs. And then wide receiver, I think we can definitely do that different show.
Okay. Running backs. So yeah, running back, by the way, is the room I am probably the most comfortable with now. They were the one room that after watching them and probably because of some improved offensive line play on Saturday, I was like, we're good. We're not going to have a Heisman Trophy winner, but I'm not terrified of what that room could produce. And I think for me, I'll go backwards to forwards. My number 1 running back on the board. So I guess I don't know how many I'm going to name. I'll probably end up naming 4. So let's call this 4. This is my first one that I believe is worth ranking is CJ Campbell. He is pretty much what we said. He's a walk-on who ran for 2,500 yards in high school. He is not going to, he's not going to be your number 1 back or anything like that, but he looked like he belonged on that field. If I didn't know he was a walk-on, I wouldn't have thought he was a walk-on. And I think that, look, someone gets hurt, someone gets dinged up, or someone just needs relief because this team runs 57% of the time. He's not going to be a detriment to your team back there.
So you're saying now this is the first person you're saying, or this is your number 1 on top of your rankings?
No, this is the first one that cracks the rankings. Okay. I just don't know if I'm going to rank 4 or 5 of them. So he's either number 4 or number 5. I should have planned it out, but I didn't. So he's my first person worth ranking.
Okay, so then I'll start from the bottom of my power rankings. He's not saying he's the worst, but I am saying that like Max is saying, he's the first one to have on there, and I have Lawrence Toafili. And that's primarily because I did like a lot more of what I saw from CJ Campbell, who would probably be my number 3. Spoiler alert. To me, that he actually showed a lot more on the field than, quite honestly, when you heard the practice reports and you're talking to some folks and, hey, he's the real deal here. And I'm like, I don't. It's really hard to hit on 2 preferred walk-on running backs, basically back-to-back years. And somehow Norvell actually did. And with Lawrence Toafili, he looks a lot better. And this is something that it's not no disrespect to him for being a little bit lower, but to me, it just seems that for some reason, CJ Campbell had a little more confidence with his running, and something that Lawrence Philly, he looked a little more improved, but I do definitely think that Lawrence Philly could jump over that. But I think CJ Campbell and Lawrence Philly being 4 and 3 respectively, that definitely is the way I see mine going out.
Yeah, I'm putting someone in between them. I've got DJ Williams separating CJ Campbell and Lawrence Philly. I'm still high on DJ. I think I've probably been the only one on the beat who has consistently said DJ Williams has a spot in this offense this year. I think we all have, but our show has been the only one to say it, which is fine. There's things that we've been the only ones to say that we've been very wrong about too. So it's not like, not to say I told, right, exactly. Corey Wren.
Shout out TCU. Nice pickup.
Hey, he's going to go be a Horned Frog. Good for him. Hey, it's not Power 5, but it's still FBS. So
yeah, it is.
That's good. I don't know.
You hate the Big 12 so much.
I mean, there was Texas and Oklahoma are gone. Come on. Like that's
They
anyway.
haven't won anything either, though, to be honest with you. But hey.
What'd you say?
They haven't won anything in a long time either, though. So
yeah, right. Like, well, that's true. But even then, like the money at those schools was like their last vestige of like, okay, fine, we'll let you call yourself Power 5. Anyway, I think DJ Williams looks better. I mean, I liked last year how he finished runs in the spring game, and then the season came around and that just like wasn't really there. And it was weird. And we kind of heard rumblings that maybe he was nursing something. Now we're finding out after the season that he was fighting injury pretty much throughout the entire year. And it makes a lot more sense, but he looks better. He looks ready to go. And I think he's your number 3 or 4 guy. I mean, I don't think he's not your RB1. He's not your TB1, but he is someone that I would expect to see. I don't know. What do you say? 15, 20% of the carries this year. I mean, he'll see a decent number of them. And I think he'll be an important part of this offense. And it was good to see him look like he's taking that next step, because I was worried for a bit he might take that, might end up going the way of the guy, what's the young man's name, transferred in, then transferred to Troy a year later. We were like kind of excited.
Oh, Damian Webb.
Yeah, like I was kind of worried, like, maybe it's just not going to work out with him, but it could. I liked what I saw from him.
I mean, that was good. Now, actually, I also, too, was worried that he would leave for carries, mainly because he left Auburn, specifically because Tank Bigsby was the number 1 back there. And for those who don't know, Tank Bigsby is going to be drafted probably in the late first, maybe second round, because he is that talented of a running back. And when you have the SEC pedigree from Auburn and their, history running backs from there, that's what happens. But to me, DJ Williams, I'm going to put him in there at 3-2, mainly because I kind of forgot about him. Like, damn, he actually did look pretty good. And he actually did look really healthy. And also, you saw with DJ Williams, sometimes, you don't want to confuse patience with hesitancy when it comes to running back vision. And you saw a lot more patience of a runner with him. And that's something that we kind of wanted to see. And also, he is good with his hands. So to me, he's going to get a lot more of the goal line work. And he will probably get 20-25% of the carries. And then after that, at number 2, I have Trayshawn Ward. And that's mainly because with Trayshawn Ward, he is the leader of this backfield. But I just think not to spoil who you're going to have like probably next, I think the back that he is going to be probably be backing up by probably game 2, maybe game 3, will probably be the better back than Jason Corbin was last year, and might be the best back that we've had since Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. So for me, these are power rankings, which means I change week to week, right? Like my number 1 receiver has been Keyshawn Helton, for the reason that he is the one that I've seen do the most on this team, wearing this uniform on this field. Y'all have heard the spiel. So they're dynamic. I see where you're going with Cedric Benson. I'm probably going to
Trey Benson.
What did I say? Cedric? I'm
running back.
Flashcards. I agree with where you're headed on Trey Benson. I think that probably by week 2 or 3, if we do these weekly, he'll probably crack my number 1 spot in my power rankings. Right now, for me, I didn't see enough from him to unseat Trayshawn Ward in my current power rankings. I saw the potential to do it, but my power rankings, just personally for me in this position, are not based on potential. It's based on what I've seen in the body of work. So I'm still number 1 is Trayshawn Ward for me. And then Benson is my number 2 right now. But I don't disagree with you for flipping that. And I think I could very much see a world where by week 2 or 3, if he stays healthy, Benson is getting a majority of your carries, because he runs well, and they may have done it again, finding a running back coming off injury.
That's why I think this little segment here works for the two of us, because yours is basically everything up till now. Mine is literally based on what I think how the end of the year is going to turn out. And it's just mainly just from the runs I saw. And now I know that they were mainly against, the second string defensive line. My man also was running behind the second string offensive line. And we have seen over the past few years how bad the second team offensive line is. And you're still averaging 11 yards a carry on 7 carries. That's still something that you want to see. And also, like I said, with the vision, he has that too. And the one thing that he has that I don't think Trayshawn Ward has is that home run speed. And when the moment that kid's gone, Like it's like a 40 to 30 to 20 to 10 touchdown Knowles. Like that's something that I think we're going to hear a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if he houses probably like an 80-yard run in the LSU game. I'm calling that right now.
Yeah, and I agree. That's the one thing Trayshawn Ward really lacks is he just isn't. Trayshawn Ward is going to hit 360 all year, and it's great, but it's going to be like a boring 360, right? It's going to be like, man, guy hits a lot of singles, a lot of doubles, and goes yard like 12 times. Now I'm using college baseball numbers because I don't watch the major leagues. I don't know if 360. I imagine 360 is good there too. I know 12 homers there would not be very many, but my point is he is like, you know who he is? He's Trey Turner for the Washington Nationals.
I
can bring that. So that's what he is, right? Great leadoff man. Trey Turner is probably, I think his OBP the year they won the series was like a 5-1. It was nuts. But I don't even know if he had double-digit home runs that year because he was like, I think that's your Trayshawn Ward, right? And then you've got your Bryce Harper, and you need both.
Yeah.
But I don't know in the football situation with that analogy, I think you start your home run hitter. So I do think, a couple games in, you're probably going to see
We'll say Juan Soto. We'll say Juan Soto because that man, he won a ring.
Juan Soto, sure. Yeah. I mean,
man's hitting.
Juan Soto's like, that's
he's the man.
Trying to think who Juan Soto would be on this team. The point is, Florida State needs to find a way to run more plays, whether that's getting more stops, whether that's getting more first downs, or a combination of both and speeding up the tempo. That will be a key to victory next year. The running back room is in very good shape, better shape than we thought it would be in, and I am optimistic about it, but we've got to have some help in that tight end room, and there are plenty of things for us to keep talking about. Y'all keep listening. We'll keep talking. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you are one of the podcast faithful. That was Drake. I'm Max, and this was Locked On Seminoles.
Take care, everybody.